Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to do one of my fairly local breweries from here in central Scotland. So we're going to go along to Kippen in Stirlingshire once again for my third review from Fallen Brewing. I've not reviewed as many of their beers as I would have liked, having lived in Sweden the last little while, but these guys are a brewery who do have a good reputation, and quite rightly so in my experience. But the beer we're going to taste tonight is called the Big One. It's a double IPA at 8.5%, and it is quite highly rated. It was, I think it had an 89 on Rate Beer when I checked out earlier. As I always say though, don't take Rate Beer as the gospel word when it comes to your beers. It's a fairly good barometer, but there are various things you have to be wary of with it. But this is the first in a series of double IPAs that Fallen are going to play with apparently. The last beer I reviewed from these guys was the Platform C, which is their kind of signature flagship IPA if you like, and that was really good. So I am interested to see how they get on with one of the kind of higher strength IPAs. So it should be a really interesting review, and as always I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, of course, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Fallen Brewing before. No doubt there will be some more in the near future. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Scottish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys, and the support that you give the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Fallen Brewing then. So Fallen Brewing was established by Paul Fallen, who is a former home brewer turned professional, and I believe it was back in 2014 that he established the company. But initially to reduce the startup costs and also to determine what size of brew kit that he wanted to buy, Paul brewed under contract at the traditional Scottish ales, now the Black Wolf Brewery of course, in Throsk near Stirling. But the brewery now live in the old Kippen railway station, which is near Stirling. It's in the vicinity of Fintry Hills and Gargunnock, but over the course of 2016 they've added another building to the brewery, and they've also basically increased the capacity. I think they've doubled it actually, but they also installed a canning line in early 2017. So over the last little while they have undergone a considerable expansion, and their beers have become a lot more readily available since they've installed this canning machine as well. But as I said, these guys are a Scottish brewery who carry a good reputation, and quite rightly so in my experience. I mean, probably these guys, Tempest, Cromarty as well, and there are a few other new ones popping up that are doing some really good things. So if you want to try some good kind of American style Scottish craft beer, then Fallen Brewing are a brewery that you definitely want to have a little look at. They've got quite a few different beers. I think they've got 8 or 9 in their regular range that they do, as well as various specials and things, and I'm pretty sure this is one of the special beers that they're doing. As I said, this one's going to be part of a series of double IPAs that they do, so we'll see how we get on with it, and hopefully I can review a few more of those for you while I'm at home doing my teacher training. So yeah, we'll see how we get on with this one then. So that's all you need to know about the brewery. As I always say, the links to the website and things like that are in the description below, so make sure you check those out if you want to learn a little bit more about Fallen Brewing then. So yeah, I'll just have a little quick look at the artwork on this one. As you can see, I do quite like the artwork that they have on these. It's kind of just meant to be the outline of the local hills and things like that. It's a very pretty part of the country that these guys are from, I have to say. But this one, like I said, the Big One, 8.5% double IPA. It tells you on the side here, the first in our series of double IPAs, Mosaic, Amarillo and Citra on a simple but juicy malt background. So yeah, it should be quite nice. It says this beer is 100% is naturally carbonated and unfiltered for maximum texture, flavour and aroma. Store upright, pour carefully and leave the yeast sediment in the can. So yeah, it should be a really nice beer. So we'll just get this guy out and get on with the tasting then. So yeah, there's a nice little bit of a smoky opening there, and you can smell some of those nice juicy fruits. It's the Citra and the Mosaic that are jumping out of this one at me right from the start. What we'll probably do with this beer then, I will pour some of the yeast sediment in a little bit later on and we'll see how it comes across, but we'll just leave it like that just now since they recommend that is how you actually taste this beer. But as you can see, it is actually fairly hazy from the off. You can see if I just bring this up to the camera, it has a nice rich kind of blood orangey texture to it. There's a solid kind of half finger of a frothy, I'd say creamy head on this one. 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, quite a few little ones just going up towards the bottom of that head there. And I'll tell you right now, when you're just moving this beer around, there's a hell of a lot of orange and tangerine coming off this, and when you've got Amarillo and Mosaic in the beer, that is to be expected. But it smells really nice, this one actually. The Mosaic's a lovely hop, I have to say. Mosaic and Citra are probably two of my favourite hops that you're going to come across. But yeah, let's have a closer look at the aroma then and see how we get on. It looks exactly as you would expect from an IPA or a double IPA, of course. But yeah, that's a big kind of juicy fruity nose you're getting off this. So yeah, some nice kind of, there's a lot of kind of oily orange. I always find the Amarillo gives you that slightly darker kind of oily orange, whereas the Mosaic's the one that's going to give you the kind of lighter tangerine notes. The Mosaic always reminds me of the aromas of some of the New Zealand hops that I encounter, just these lighter, almost just kind of juicier, airier fruits or something like that. The Mosaic, just that tangerine note that the Mosaic gives you is quite distinctive. And you can smell, mixed in with those oranges, there's a little bit of that kind of distinctive mango that you always associate with the Citra. But it's a lovely smelling beer, this. It's a big kind of tropical fruit bomb kind of thing. There's a wee bit of a kind of peachy apricot note, maybe some of the lychees, and these are the more kind of complex notes that you'll get both from the Mosaic and the Citra. The Amarillo, in my experience, is a bit more of a kind of straight up, just oily orange. But the Mosaic and the Citra definitely can give you a little bit more complexity than the Amarillo can, in my experience. They start to give you these nice kind of lighter tropical fruit notes. But with this one, there's a good bit of spicy floral aromaticity to this. You can smell that mixing in with these fruits. There's maybe a wee bit of passion fruit in there right enough as well, and that will be the Citra more than anything else. But it really leans towards the tangerines and the orange, just with a little bit of that mango. But yeah, some spicy floral aromaticity. You can pick up a little bit of the lighter grassy notes as well. There's not that much in the way of the malt coming out in this one. Just trying to get this beer to sugar around a little bit more. But you can smell a wee bit of the breadiness, and you can smell a little bit of the boozy caramel. The beer in the nose actually does smell a little bit boozy to me. And the caramel's mixing in with that, but the malt isn't too apparent, as you would expect from a double IPA, and especially from this brewery, who are quite a hop forward brewery. It really is the big kind of juicy fruits from these American hops that are coming out. But as I always say, just take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of your beer before you actually get stuck into it. That's always half the experience when it comes to craft beer and whiskey and sake and things like that. It is quite a geeky thing, but you know, that's what we actually do these videos for. But yeah, let's have a little taste of this beer then and see how we get on. So this is the big one, the first in a series of double IPAs from Fallen Brewing Company in Kippen here in Stirlingshire in Scotland. Let's get stuck in. Slàinte. I have to say that is pretty nice. It's not going to blow your head off in terms of IBUs. This one really is one of these more oily, kind of juicy, fruity IPAs than anything else. And you can tell from the oily character this one has, it is a little bit more boozy. And I mean, the IPA market these days is kind of dominated with these New England kind of hazy IPAs. It is really nice to come back and try a kind of big, more oily, almost West Coast IPA rather than anything else. This one, to me, is distinctly a West Coast double IPA, and it is nice to have this when you have all of these New England IPAs dominating the market just now. But that's really nice. I like how the oranges come out in this. It's just really, it just really hits the spot for me actually. There is a bit of a distinctive, if you taste the malt base in this, there is a little bit of a distinctive, almost Scottish character to the malt base. It has a little bit of that kind of cereally character coming out of it, which is quite nice. I'm getting just a little bit of that in the middle of the palate, but overall there is a good little bit of hoppy bitterness to this one. But it's really well done actually. I have to say that with this, they've done a nice job with this beer. You can taste with it, it's maybe not quite as fresh as it would have been at some point, but you can still get a lot of these really nice kind of hoppy floral characters out of it. It's a good beer, you can tell that even at this point in time. It's a really quite nice beer. It doesn't say on it actually when it was canned or anything like that, and it will take time to mature when it's in the can. I think it is pretty fresh. I'm drinking this in July. I would guess that it's probably been, it says on the side here, best before the 18th of the 3rd, or March 2018. So I would guess then it's been canned in March. It will take about 12 weeks to mature in the can since it's a double IPA. So it's probably about the middle of June that this beer would actually have been ready to drink. and even when it's about a month old, it's still really nice. It's one of these juicier IPAs. It doesn't have the IBUs though that some of these big ones can have, and I like them when they're just a little bit more juicy and oily. Like I said, it's a nice change of pace. But the malt base in this one, you've got that nice bready character that just blankets the middle of the palate. You can feel a little bit of that cereally character initially, but then it smooths out as your palate gets more used to the beer, and there's a little bit of a biscuity sweetness in the middle of your tongue too. You can get just a little bit of a slightly richer caramel, but not too much. For me, it's more of a bready and very slightly cereally malt base that comes out of this one, but you can feel a little bit of that just boozy character sitting right in the middle of your tongue. On the hoppy side of things, in the back corners of the palate, there's a tiny little bit of earthiness there, and as you come further forward, you can feel that nice floral aromatic character coming out of the beer. It's actually quite a smooth floral character. None of these hops are really that spicy when it comes to their floral notes. I find they're always just kind of nice and fairly smooth, but around the front curve of the palate you've got that nice light kind of grassy note. It's almost a little bit like lemongrassy, and that's some of the citrusy aspects coming out of these hops as well. But just behind the front curve of the palate, that's where you'll get that little oily bubble where all these nice juicy fruity esters come out of the beer. And as you would expect when it's Amarillo and Mosaic in this one, it really is leaning towards these nice juicy kind of orange tangerine flavours. For me, it's the Amarillo that's kind of forming the linchpin of the beer, and as you progress a little bit further on, that's when you start to get some of these lighter kind of notes that you'll get from the Mosaic and the Citra. Yeah, for me it's definitely the Amarillo that's kind of forming the linchpin of this one. And just right now I'm starting to get a little bit of the mango and the tangerine notes, and as you go further and further into the flavour, that's when you start to get some of these complexities from the hop. I get a little bit of the kind of slightly lychee and almost gooseberry note that you can sometimes get from the Citra, and there's a wee bit of an almost kind of apricotty, maybe even a little bit peachy note that you'll get from the Mosaic. I always find that the Mosaic gives you a little bit of that just slightly apricotty note as you get further on in the flavour. So it's really interesting just to see how these kind of flavours combine together. But let's put the whole thing in and just see if it actually changes a little bit with any of the yeast sediments in there. You can see there's a wee bit, and the beer has got just that little bit hazier. So let's have a little taste of it now and just see if that changes it at all. Not really, actually. You can feel there's just a little bit more of a kind of bready, smooth character to it. You can feel that straight away with it. It's just the overall flavour of the beer and the overall feel of the beer doesn't really change that much. You can just feel the bready character. It actually makes the beer just a little bit smoother in the malt base, and I have to like it. I have to say that I like that. I do like it when the beers have just a nice kind of smooth malt base. Some of these double IPAs need just a little bit more caramel malt and things to them just to kind of cover the booziness a bit. But this one, the way when you add the sediment into this one a little bit, it smooths it out, and you can get a little bit of alcohol warmth from it, but the smoothness of the malt base in this one is really quite nice actually. And I have to say, for me, I do like the way that this beer comes across. It's just the orangey characters. I'm a bit of a sucker when it comes to these orange flavoured hops. Pacifica from New Zealand, Amarillo and Mosaic from America, Mandarina Bavaria of course as well. These are probably my favourite hops. So this one for me with the orange flavours really does hit the spot. As I always say though, beer is subjective and everyone enjoys different things, but for me this is a really quite nice double IPA. I'm not sure if they've done a big double IPA like this before, if this is their first one, and this is just an experiment, so I have to say, if it's just an experimental beer, they have done a pretty good job with it, and I would be very interested to see how they progress with this. So, you know, big thumbs up to Fallen Brewing again on this one. I think they've done a good job with this beer. But yeah, if you like a nice big orangey double IPA, this one is certainly going to hit the spot for you with those Mosaic and Amarillo notes. So yeah, big thumbs up to Fallen Brewing on this one for me. They've done a nice job of that, but you wouldn't expect anything less from these guys. In terms of the mouthfeel then, I'd say this one's mid-bodied. Carbonation is quite soft. It's more of an oily mouthfeel that you have from this one at 8.5%, and particularly when it's leaning towards that kind of West Coast IPA style, that is what you expect. It has a good bit of hoppy bitterness to it. The floral character, I'm finding as my mouth adjusts to this a little bit more, I'm getting a little bit more of that kind of nice floral bite that you can get from these hops. It's not too spicy. but the IBU does build on you a little bit as you kind of go through this beer. There's a good bit of juicy fruity character, like I said, those nice oily oranges, and the malt base overall is fairly smooth. There is a little bit of that nice kind of malty character to it, that nice slightly sweet character that you'll get with the boozier ones, but I think it's just fair to say overall this is a really quite nice beer. So if you get the chance to try this one, I have to say give it a go. Fallen Brewing are one of the really good Scottish breweries and very experimental ones these days, so if you're interested in Scottish craft beer, make sure you give them a go. So yeah, I think that's a good way to sum up this review. A really nice, interesting, experimental double IPA from Fallen Brewing, and I do look forward to trying the other ones that come in the series. In particular, this one is good for those of you who like the nice orange flavours in IPAs like I do. So yeah, it'd been really cool to return to Fallen Brewing once again and review another one of their beers. I hope you've enjoyed my take on this beer. If you have tried it for yourself, please let me know your own thoughts on it in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Fallen Brewing as well, and like I said, do make sure you check these guys out if you are particularly interested in Scottish craft beer. So until the next time, it's Landed Just Now, and I will catch you guys very soon. The big one, part of the Double IPA experimental series from Fallen Brewing Company in Kippen here in Stirlingshire in central Scotland. It's Landed Just Now, and I will catch you guys very soon. Cheers.